What I really need to emphasize today is this is a judgment, not being graded on a curve. If there's any questions about what a curve is, I think I've got it covered here. I will show the history of the curve. Our judgment is only based on our talents and our circumstances. And by that, I mean metaphorically, like the Bible, you're planted in soil, you're a seed, kind of, but not really. So, you know what I mean? And I have these popular paradoxes that are not as hard as, the myths perpetuated. I'll show some of those. The three people with $10, they get a refund and go, oh no, where's the missing dollar? And then there's two people loan a guy $50. I'll give the answers because the short videos that they put out where they go like, oh, here's the answer of where the mystery dollar went. Hint, it didn't go anywhere. And spoiler alert, they're just clickbaiting you. They don't tell you the obvious, simple answer. Some try. Welcome, everybody, to Mud Flood was Armageddon. The Mud Flood was the Armageddon. Don't let them tell you anything else unless they're willing to debate you in a fair and honest way. I am not manic, but I am in a good mood. RJ will be able to verify it whenever anything big's going on. I try to get a hold of him. I called him today, going to go have a meeting and just, I explained to RJ the way I felt things were, and I thought I'd try to explain it to them the same way. And we didn't always have these type of good results to where the last time, and this time I'll tell them the same thing. RJ, how'd it go? And I go, it was like I'd have to consider a best case scenario. So I had another one of those best case scenarios less than an hour ago. And now we're going to talk about the curve, the simplification of puzzles, and the racist bell curve of how did they take something that really wasn't quantified and, for lack of a better word, invented the intelligent quotient. Isn't it funny how the Q is everywhere? Until 1904. And then all of a sudden, oh man, you don't got the right score. You must be a maroon or something. Oh, I gotta do I did an invite. So if mostly that probably is for RJ, but if you are not the famous Randy from Wisconsin, you can still hop on there if you feel like you have something you want to add. Like if I missed something, I don't want to miss this because then I won't be able to show other people's videos. Been down that road. They don't like it. YouTube. The people, I don't know if the people care. So here is let's see what we got here. I usually like to go back to where I don't think I made any shorts last night. There's something. Did you know that the first, everybody talks about Plato and Plato's cave. Did you know that the first English translation of Plato was not until 1928? If I was a computer, I'd say 1928. It was a good year. It was the last year before the crash, the stock market crash, the crash that ruined everything, and we're still suffering from it today. I can't stand it. Atlantis, look at that. The computer has it all figured out now. They know she did it. I think Demi Lee is a computer. Maybe not, but it sure has been around a long time. And you know what? I got a picture of the inside of a train. You know, they used to be better. It looks like it was better in the 1890s. I'm thinking it was the golden age. I think they're lying about, oh, our recent history is George Washington. No, I think people lived like this in star forts, having been conned into a industrial revolution or two. Family, what is this? Isn't that weird? These are computer things, I'm pretty sure. I just found this particularly disturbing. This Andrea Xerxes, he's one of the guys, very weird. Walked around on a plague mask right before the pandemic. Interviewed me a couple of times, then gave all the information about the biogeology to the Prince hacker, Mike, and then they went down the anything but Jesus road. So here is something from the eugenics, the IQ thing, where they invented it. They passed a law that said it's an act entitled, this entitled act to prevent people from procreating. That means having sex and making a baby. Procreation of confirmed criminals. Well, wow. What if it's jaywalking? Idiots, imbeciles, rapists, providing that superintendents and board of managers of institutions where such persons are confined shall have the authority and are empowered to appoint a committee of experts, at least 2 physicians, to examine into the mental condition of such inmates. And this was like, wow, 1907. This is where they taken the orphan trains. I think they were breeding the orphan train children there. Hey, could you spot 7 riddles that'll test your brain power? Where is Mike? I got it circled there for you. I'll let you know I did find that on my own because he had one eye. I remembered that. No way. Integral is the continuous analog of a sum and is used to calculate areas, volumes, and their what? Generalizations. Huh. This is all relatively new. Listen to this. A definite integral computes the signed area of the region in the plane that is bounded by the graph of a given function between 2 points of the real line. And you see all the red, they got different words for everything. You better use them right, or you're going to be the antiderivative. Well, I guess if you're the antiderivative, you're going to have to own it, embrace it. Now, here's one. We'll see where I got this from, part of a series on calculus. Although methods of calculating areas and volumes dated from ancient Greek mathematics, the principles of integration were formulated independently by Isaac Newton and Gottfried Wilhelm Leibniz in the late 1600s, who thought of the area under the curve as an infinite sum of rectangles of infinitesimal width, so small they were almost infinitely small. What? That's how you figured area? I searched this. I cut it. I don't know if I did any pictures, but I cut that out and searched it to see if they were, just to see where I would go with it. There's this company I was looking at while I was doing math because it sounded like, Symbolab, machine learning things. And it was just funny as I was just I'll read pretty fast. And the former employees, all based in Tel Aviv, joined the Course Hero team as part of the acquisition. That kind of jumped out at me, and I'm like, I'm going to highlight that. And that was in 2011. Did you know everything changed in 2000 and 2011, 2012? But 2012, 9/11, 2012, the other Benghazi. Norm Chomsky was wrong about a lot of things. Getting on the Epstein Express and just admitting in emails to Epstein, I need help picking up girls. I don't think they really like me when they just want to hang out. Gee, look in the mirror much, Norm? That just different types of sentences. One is what happened. My wife was given a chocolate. Active. Well, who did it? I gave a chocolate to my wife. One's passive. Hey, here's that puzzle. In case you wanna, I got it. I'll tell you how it goes here. Someone borrows $50 from person A, another $50 from person B. They buy a jacket for $97. The conniver gives back $1 to person A, $1 to person B, and then he makes this presumptuous assumption. Now I owe person A 49 and person B 49. That's 98. Plus the $1 I still have makes 99. You're not even giving all the right information at all. And I was very upset when I saw these videos and they didn't explain it. I'll explain it later. That started like that. It ended up like this. Which one's better? Because if it's not worth the 15 minutes, and I figure what I used to get, an hour. What's better? Because I really want to focus on, we are his workmanship. We were created in Christ Jesus for good works. It doesn't say saved in Christ Jesus for good works. We're created. Why bother to give people a second birth of the Spirit if you're not going to use it? If it's going to be like, oh, I was given it a talent, but I didn't use it. Here's your talent back, God. The coin isn't the real money. I could be more vague, but I don't know how. That was supposed to be a joke because I'm not trying to be vague. Was I sharing the screen? There's no complaints so far. So that's how I found the picture. And there it is.
This money problem makes no sense. Can you figure it out? I borrowed $50 from person A and another $50 from person B. I bought a jacket for $97. I gave $1 back to person A and $1 back to person B. Now I owe person A $49 and person B $49. That's $98. Plus the $1 I still have makes $99. Where is the missing dollar?
Now look, it says check the caption for answer. It is check the comments.
Comment your answer and follow for more fun games. This money problem makes no.
Put your comment in the answers and look around. Nobody really answered it. No money is missing. 97 plus 1 is 100, but it really doesn't leave out what I was trying to get along. When I made the best way that I would explain that one, I made it, how would I put it down? 50 times 2 is 100. 97, 100 minus 97 is 3. So why is that guy not pulling another dollar out of his pocket? Because he still owes that person another. There's no missing dollar. He's hanging on to a dollar that does not belong to him, and he owes the other guy a dollar. He's got to pay back $100. You can't pay back 99, stick one in your pocket and go, where'd it go? There's $100 in play here. Shenanigan boy is stealing it. The other one, I believe, is the one that they put on the TV show Friends, and everybody lost their mind. They're like, I can't do it. Well, it's the same thing. The hotel clerk is cheating like a bandit. Hopefully that's a good one. There you go.
Crazy. Can you solve the case of the missing dollar? One evening, three friends, Alex, Sam, and George.
Okay, when this used to be a room, and now they're sharing food, but it's the same concept.
Walk into a cozy restaurant. They're excited for a nice meal together. After enjoying their food, the waiter brings the bill. It's $30. Each friend chips in $10, handing over a total of $30. But wait, the restaurant manager stops the waiter and says, the bill was actually only $25. Go return $5 to them. Thinking quickly, the waiter decides to keep $2 as a tip and returns $1 to each of the three friends. So now, each friend has paid $9 instead of $10. Let's do the math. 3 friends x $9 equals $27. The waiter kept $2, so $27 plus $2 equals $29. But the original bill was $30. Where did the missing dollar go?
I'm just telling you, there's no missing dollar. I'm going to tell you.
Okay. 3 people check into a hotel room that costs $30. They each contribute $10 and head up to their room. The hotel manager realizes that he overcharged the trio and the room actually costs $25. He gives the bellboy $5 to return to the guests. On the way to their room, the bellboy gets greedy and decides to keep $2 for himself. He gives each of the guests $1 back. Now, each guest paid $10 and got $1 back. So they each paid $9, totaling $27. The bellboy has $2. That makes $29 in total. But they originally paid $30. Where is the missing dollar?
Wait, where is the missing dollar? I'm confused. Why did the bellboy have to go and mess everything up? So they each paid $9 in total, which is 27 plus 2.
How much did they owe? Now, what they don't tell you when they give you the answer is they owed $9.33.3. You don't just all of a sudden get a $30 room for $29. Well, it's 27. When he should have returned it, he stole that money. It doesn't. You can't just go. So they paid $9. The cost is 9.333 repeating. That's the real cost. See, he stole it. It's not missing. Oh, I have the one. You still owe them the other dollar for the 333.3s. But they like to explain it like it's this. One more of the. So I'm pretty sure this girl is a robot enhanced human. These people are probably, it's embarrassing. Their teacher couldn't tell them.
To us.
Okay, sounds good.
So 3 friends.
And this guy has another way, but he never gets around to saying it's the missing 0.33 cents. 33 cents point, is missing from all 3. That's where it is. He just shows you why it's stupid that every dollar is accounted for, not how they tricked you.
We're eating a dinner. Their bills all came out to be $10 each. That equals $30. The waiter realized that he got the bill wrong and it was $25. So he comes back with the $5, right? He doesn't know how to split it evenly, so he gives them all $1 back and then pockets the other 2.
Okay, so he's keeping the $2 as a tip for himself, and then he's giving each of them back $1 each. $3 plus $2 equals $5.
So that means that all of this should only be $9 each, right?
Right. If you're starting with the 30, then you can subtract the 3, but then you'd also have to subtract the 2 from the waiter to get to 25.
9 times 3 is 27. Add the other 2 that he pocketed, and
No. You wouldn't add, you'd subtract the 2 that he pocketed. Since you subtracted 1 each from the 10 to get 9, you would also have to subtract the 2, and that would get
Well, you could add the
25.
2. You could add the 2 and then say, where's the other dollar? You owe us each a quarter, a nickel, or 3 pennies.
and that only equals 29. Where did the extra dollar go to equal 30?
It didn't go anywhere. By subtracting, you're going towards 25, not 30.
Our math teacher and principal, who used to be a math teacher, just spent like 20 minutes trying to figure this out, and none of us could. So if you have the answer, let me know.
Well, by watching this video, you now see that the answer.
Oh, yeah, they get it. Kinda. It's kinda like getting it.
Clerk realizes there was a discount and the room was only $25 and gives $5 back to the bellboy to return to the friend.
Yeah, man. These things are crazy. You know what else is crazy?
Sure. Now, I want to give you the context of this because Australia continues to rule in favor of men who are presenting as women. This comes after a court in Australia says that this person has full access to women's only spaces. This is it's a biological man who went on this app called Giggle and thought because now he had electrolysis, he went through the pain of trying to look like a woman, he should get access to this women only social network. But he was kicked off as soon as he uploaded a picture of himself, and he threw a fit. He sued the woman who owns it. This is the woman named Sal Grover. She says that he started emailing her incessantly and she felt really uncomfortable with his aggression. Her lawyers say this is a real woman being harassed by a man insisting that he has the rights and not her. And the courts agreed that in fact he had the right and he was discriminated against because of his appearance. Now, she lost this case 2 years ago and she appealed it. Last week, she lost the appeal.
She, the owner.
She, the owner, the woman.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm not using she about that dude.
Yeah. Okay, good.
Yeah, I'm not going to do that.
Thank you.
Yeah. So the court now has awarded him twice as much as he originally got. So when she first lost her lawsuit to him, she was ordered to pay $50.
Believe it or not, they have some of the testimony.
It is the absurdity of the law yet again, which shows, again, the law does need to be changed because, for the record, biological men, doesn't matter what way you cut it, you cannot get pregnant. And quite frankly, it is an insult to women who actually are discriminated on because they want to have children when they biologically can get pregnant. But the good news is what we're proving today is the law needs to be changed.
Okay.
Oh my God.
So she's saying,
not going to apply to a man.
Well, they're both biological men. It makes no sense. A biological man, you stated before, a biological man can't get pregnant. Am I correct? Because if I'm not, I've got to go back to school. I seriously do, because I missed that lesson in biology. I went to a convent school. The nuns may not have told me about it. But you said a biological man can't get pregnant.
That's correct, Senator. But someone who is a trans woman may be assumed to be pregnant or to be able to be pregnant.
Make it stop.
So what stops a man putting on a dress, walking in and claiming the protections? He's now a woman. You've admitted that.
That would be up to a court to decide whether or not it was discrimination on the basis
So it's the and with all due respect, yep, it is the absurdity of the law yet again.
why it cut off? How long was it cut off? Just cut out. ¿Qué pasa? Lo siento, mi español es muy fea. I try to, you know, tell people that they already speak Espanol. There's things called cognates, and 4,000 of them. And you don't have to be one of those gifted students we're going to look about to get it that, you know, wow, someone from Mexico might say it's importante. You can't get it that that's important. It's the same word. It means the same thing. Yeah, muy doesn't sound like very, but importante does, doesn't it? Simpatico. So many words. They are the words. But that's me. That's just me. Okay. Zach Mack, I'd like to think that I remembered what I said, but I know that Lord has me on a roll talking about the curves and everything else. Here's the verse. I wanted you to know the most important thing, if you ever, what happened in the Bible? What led to all of this ruin and destruction? I got it for you. It's Hezekiah's son. And Hezekiah was one of the good guys. His son, as they say, that apple, he offered sacrifices to the gods of Damascus that had defeated him. That's what he thought. And said, because the gods of the kings of Syria, helped them, I will sacrifice to them that they may help me. But they were the ruin of him and of all Israel. It was the downfall of Ahaz. Isn't that crazy? You always wanted to know, when did it happen? Well, you know it was Rehoboam, Jeroboam. What part have we to do with David? You know, they were just, they completely lost their minds. What's the cause of all this stumbling? You know, the walls came tumbling down. It's a one-time fluctuating root word. Can't decide if it's a compound, suffix, or prefix. Stumble, feeble. I'm picturing somebody with a cane. God shall make thee fall. If you don't be strong and courageous, we'll look at that, because that's too vague. But if you do go, be strong for the battle. God will bring you down before the enemy, for God has power to help and to bring down. Amaziah said to the man of God, but what shall we do for the 100 talents which I have given to the troops of Israel? The man of God answered, the Lord has much more to give you than this. Amaziah dismissed the troops and said, you know what? We have had enough of killing these people. We are not going to kill these people. This is an interesting part. Hey, I wanted to remind you, I wrote a book in 2008. On this page, I get into, the big split. There are remnants, and then there are people that are called true believers. You see, I've been doing this thing about a virus, fake virus, drove them underground. And when they came out, they were releasing the information. You see, there were a group of people that fought against the World League and felt they were moving too fast in letting the world rediscover some of the truth of the last age. 2008. I didn't even know this was a short season booked until 2015. had it published. One of the few things I could do in my own name, not that it's not buried and covered up like what do they call that? Would they do that on the YouTube? They sandbag you or something?
Desired class average and percentage over 100. Well, this has been another optimizeyourteaching.com idea. My name is now. That's going to equal 3,200 equals 80x, or
You said 80x, you only wrote 8x.
x equals 40.
So have you done the classes where they grade on the curve? I mean, when I took, I'm in university right now. And it's one of those deals. Had to get a scholarship. I had to take a test. And, well, you have to prove you're worthy of this scholarship. Are you smarter than half the people that go to college here? Not in the world, that smarter than half the people in the college. Turns out I was. Not as high as I would have thought, only like 91%. I'm only smarter than 91%. But I've never been the smartest person in the room. I got, some things I'm off the chart on, some things I'm just like almost normal. But one thing I did realize is that the people that were smarter than me, they considered me as stupid as everybody else, someone to manipulate. And they did, and I was manipulated by them until I realized, hey, wait, there's too many times it didn't work out when they were sure. And then you get that hint, I think they're using me. And then you set it up to see if they're using you. And you go like, doggone, genius. They're genius. They're like mad, wild foxes that just, they're just not like, they're never got changed to want to repent. We're like
Hello,
that
everyone.
until we
Today,
change.
We're going to be talking about The Bell Curve. The Bell Curve is a 1994 book by psychologist Richard J. Herrnstein and political scientist Charles Murray. And by way of an introduction here, I'll read the description of the book that's on the back of my copy. Breaking new ground and old taboos, Richard J. Herrnstein and Charles Murray tell the story of a society in transformation. At the top, a cognitive elite is forming in which the passkey to the best schools and the best jobs is no longer social background, but high.
We know now that the passkey was to get into those Ivy League schools and the Seven Sisters, Bryn Mawr, where Hillary went. You had to pose naked. You had to pose nude when you showed up. They didn't tell you, but you went in, you got to pose nude. Everybody else did. Yeah, we're checking you for rickets and scoliosis. Yeah, sure you were. They started early on this blackmail stuff. You want to go to Harvard, Yale? Disrobe.
Intelligence. At the bottom, the common denominator of the underclass is increasingly low intelligence rather than racial or social disadvantage. The bell curve describes the state of scientific knowledge about questions that have been on people's minds for years but have been considered too sensitive to talk about openly. Among them, IQ's relationship to crime, unemployment, welfare, child neglect, poverty, and illegitimacy, ethnic differences.
These are the people I showed you in the pictures, the ones who in 1904 did the IQ and started getting people to, well, they had them in the asylums and everything, the orphan trains, but kill them. Like, we are that nation Rome that left the babies in the dump and didn't want Christians to save them. That's still today. It's illegal to them.
Intelligence, trends in fertility among women with different levels of intelligence, and what policy can do and cannot do to compensate for differences in intelligence. Brilliantly argued and meticulously documented, the bell curve, where Gould introduces head measurements into the mix, needs another dimension in order to convey the information. And with more variables added in, the data.
I'm not saying that whatever they used for their standards of testing, they didn't come up with some scores, but I'm saying there is no universal racism because the bell curve book only proved that, yay, whites are mentally superior to blacks. I mean, it just hushes up and glosses over, yet far inferior to many more like Chinese, Japanese, Indonesians, Asians, and others, Indians. Yeah. So the big deal is in the racism, it's like, you always want to get what here's where they start here.
Effects, but they argue that these positive effects fade over time and become statistically insignificant by the time those children leave school. This is taken by Herrnstein and Murray as proof that there is ultimately nothing to be done to help these.
Remember, these were the people that didn't wash their hands after they were scrubbing cadavers and didn't go deliver a baby because it's reset world. Reset world. A little break, pause in the action here. Look at that dramatic music. That's pretty badass. Ready? On your mark. Who's going to win? Wow. Is that parabolic? What is that one curve called? The red one. That's the magic one. It's all remarkable how similar they finish. C4, D4U. Fast motion. Fast motion.
There's two ways you can grade on a curve, generally speaking. The first way, the simpler way, is if you have a list of grades of the students in your class, let's say the highest grade is a 93 and the lowest grade is a 62. What you do is you say, oh, that wasn't a perfect test. In a perfect world, the best student in the class should have gotten 100. That's the first kind of grading curve. So you say, okay, this student needed 7 points to get 100. So I'm going to add 7 points onto every person's grade. So each grade now becomes 7 points higher. So this 62 becomes a 69. And this 93 becomes 100. So whoever does best in the class, by definition, is going to get 100 or a perfect score. That becomes the new 100. That's the first way to grade on a scale, on a curve. The second way to grade on a curve is a distribution curve. A lot of times they base it on the bell curve, actually, but you can choose whatever you want. And what they'll do is sometimes even before the semester starts, the teacher will say, you can say, I want to have a certain amount of A's, a certain amount of B's, C's, D's, and F's. And that's used for various reasons. It's used to eliminate the possibility of the course being too easy or the test being too easy or something like that. So what would happen is you might decide that you want 15%. Let's say you have 100 students in your class, make it easy. You want 15% to be A's. So if you want 15 A's, a certain amount of B's, C's, D's, and maybe...
I watched a little bit of this, and it was interesting that the teachers think that if somebody doesn't get 100, like if their top students don't get 100, that they didn't teach it well enough. That's what they're trained to think, that I got to tweak the test, so I got to bring the grade up. Very interesting. I just want to see where we're going here. This was interesting. Just what, back up about, back
Better is a poor
up.
man who walks in his, and the new growth appears, and the vegetation of the mountains is gathered. The lambs will provide your clothing, and the goats the price of a field. There will be enough goat's milk for your food, for the food of your household, and maintenance for your girls. Proverbs 28. The wicked flee when no one pursues, but the righteous are bold as a lion. When a land transgresses, it has many rulers, but with the man of understanding and knowledge, its stability will long continue. A poor man who oppresses the poor is a beating rain that leaves no food. Those who forsake the law praise the wicked, but those who keep the law strive against them. Evil men do not understand justice, but those who seek the Lord understand it completely.
Well, that's good. This is my algorithm. What do you guys get on your algorithm? I got a tornado. I watch the weather. I care about the weather in a number of different states. Bernie Sanders is still in the news. It's Monday, so the war is back on. By Friday, there'll be another peace talk. By Friday, there'll be more peace talk. Save the stock market. Now, Tommy started making more videos recently. He put out a video about the moon. I'm going to show you some of that because it's hard. The moon moves so fast. And this is that blue moon.
Part 2 of my moonshot from Casanova.
So nice job.
Is it cool? You know what I'm saying? Lots of people there.
I wonder why it doesn't sparkle like the other plasma orbs.
You know.
You know, when they shake like that. But look, it gets close on it.
Guys, they're cool. You probably check out their channels.
That thing is, it is moving like a fireball with that, the fire. I hear a motorcycle,
This would be
Tommy.
probably the servant's house across the street.
Wow, did you know that, you ever heard of that USS Liberty? Here's another one that got confused where the people that shot him down said, we didn't know Iran Air Flight 655 was an international scheduled passenger flight from Tehran to Dubai via Bandar Abbas that was shot down the day before Rush Limbaugh started his radio program on the 4th of July, 1988. So for the next 30 years, he could tell everybody that the previous 8 years of Reagan was the greatest time for men to be alive. They shot 2 surface-to-air missiles at the Airbus Iran Air Flight 655. Shot it down. The U.S. Vincennes, so they got the big ones, man. It's a warship. It was flying its usual route, broadcasting on the civilian things, and it shot it down while the Iran-Iraq war was going on, and the United States this is when we were helping Iraq because we don't like Iran. Just sorry. The United States gave them hundreds of $1 million, but they didn't have to admit liability. Look, we're sorry. I don't know. There are going to be people today that say probably whoever was the prime minister of you-know-who's in New York's Jerusalem. Jerusalem. Yikes. The Aegis combat system, that's what they shot him with. Sorry, you people on the plane. This is the next day. Rush Limbaugh's first day at work.
Or your family, everybody thinks of you, then you're always going to be bogged down by that. Well, nations are nothing more than population of people. And as a nation, I think it's been a mistake for us to be concerned about world opinion anyway, because world opinion is always going to be anti-U.S. because the U.S. is the envy of the world. So what difference does this make as far as our reputation is concerned? It doesn't hurt us a bit.
Well, I agree with what you say. It shouldn't bother us, but it does, because we're always the country that yells so much about human rights being protected in other countries, and now here we have no disregard for 300 innocent civilians, and we just shoot them down as if they were just so much nothing. And I think that...
Now, see, that is not true. I think we care deeply about it.
We do. I'm not saying we don't. We definitely do. But what I'm saying is they're giving the impression, people that are saying this is the country that values human life. Well, if they value it so much, why did they shoot down 300 civilians, 290 civilians? We certainly are upset about it. I'm sure the captain of that ship, I feel very sorry for him. I'm sure he's very upset. But as a previous caller said, how is he to know that there were not troops in that plane? Just because it looks like a civilian airline, it doesn't.
Oh, so now this would be MAGA back then. They're going to twist it. Yeah, we shot it down, but what if it was filled with a bomb and he was going to do a kamikaze, not with a, because the big old jet airliners, look what they did on 2001 9/11. Yikes, city da.
Iranian.
That's right, Iranian.
Okay, the Iranian F-14 was not modified as a bomber.
Yeah, that's right. We had about 85 of them when it was sold, and it wasn't modified for bombing purposes. It had only air-to-air Maverick.
Yeah, whatever. You know what? Where did Rush Limbaugh go? He was.
Well, that's enough. I mean, that's still, even if it was an F-14, that's reason enough to shoot the thing down if it's on a.
He was the most popular person in the world. Look at this. Life and controversy. Looking back, he dead at 70. Oh, man. Nope. I want something this year. Somebody paying tribute, Golden Mike. I watched one where they're basically told how his wife has taken all the money now. Nobody hears about Rush Limbaugh anymore. Let's hear some of the controversy anyway.
Freedom is killed off by people claiming that the greater good or the general will or the betterment of the community requires
One of the first people to be a biohuman because he did so many drugs or something. It's what the rumor is. That he lost his memory, lost his mind, and they had to plug him into. He got that. One of the first people. I forget what it's called. I used to know.
Patrol.
Rush Limbaugh called himself America's anchorman and a doctor of democracy. He was a conservative on-air personality whose bombastic presence made his radio.
He was married 4 times, people he met online. He's a wanker.
One of the most popular in history.
He said a number of things that people didn't say on the airwaves, but might have said in the dark of night in the privacy of their homes. And what was refreshing.
Controversial?
Millions of people a day that you speak to and that you inspire, and all of the incredible work.
Rush Limbaugh, the undeniably entertaining yet also controversial radio talk show host, has died. Catherine Adams Limbaugh, his wife of over 10 years, made the announcement live on air during Limbaugh's radio show. She told his audience, It is with profound sadness I must share with you directly that our beloved Rush, my wonderful husband, passed away this morning due to complications from lung cancer. Catherine had recently celebrated her 44th birthday, which made her 26 years younger than her famous husband and only 12 years older than his talk show. She wasn't Rush's first wife. He'd been married 3 times before, with each of his previous marriages ending in divorce. While you'd think the age gap might have given Catherine some doubts about becoming wife number 4, she evidently preferred older men. As she once told the Palm Beach Post, "I grew up so differently, traveling around the world, that I'm sometimes not able to relate to the average person."
Well, what is she supposed to say? But anyway, she ended up with all the money. Everything's in her name, and it's been a while, but you don't hear about Rush anymore. She's got all the money, closed down the website, closed down the newsletter, and now he's being written out of history because of the anti-abortion stance and some of the other things, where he's not going to be like, oh yeah, this is what they used to go for. The Republican Party was only about abortion. And, you know, the money thing was very secondary. And right now, well, they're winning. They've got everybody thinking about, how could I pay, from what I've heard, allegedly, you know, $4.25 for a gallon of gasoline. You know, your car doesn't run on gas. Gas is what comes out you when you
Considered an American blue blood in her own right. According to People, she is a direct descendant of John Adams, the second president of the United States. Her father, Richard Rogers, graduated from the Naval Academy alongside another conservative.
Is that what Erica Kirk is going to look like in 10 years? Those are not their real teeth.
Stalwart, the late Senator John McCain. Rogers was a naval captain and then a businessman with global interests, so little Catherine had a rather glamorous, well-traveled upbringing. Her family made their homes in such far-flung places as Guinea.
Ooh. Hey, you know the history of pie? Hope I'm sharing the screen. This is it's so brand new. But what's even more crazy is that defined as an integral, something that's an integral part of the equation. It wasn't really defined until 1841, according to them. Integration is no longer commonly used. I wonder why not. I always found it helpful. I mean, it's not like I did work with cosines all the time, differential equations. We're going to go into some more things, you know, and I do want to talk about, you know, what is integral. This is the, you know, I searched it. You know what's funny to do is search something like that, and they go like, man, that's not going to help me. Can you explain it better? Is there any way to make it bigger? You see, because they are really simplifying it. It's integral. This one is even better. See, it's all right there, so easy. 1, 2, 3, 4. But I didn't know it either. Nice graph. What? That is not integral. We'd have to hear it. Okay, that's not integral. That was pretty easy. I like it. See, this is a pretty good one. This is not. This is the F from the alphabet lore from a Babbitt Lance -011 on DeviantArt. They got, you know, probably F is for ferocious dog or something. So you got search before that. Oh, there was the other thing. Oh, I was going to say, and you don't know who you are or who they pigeonholed or programmed you to be. Now, all my life, I've been the spiritual one in this generation of the Hughes family on my dad's side. My dad married a Walton from Missouri, but not the rich ones. Her dad was like a deputy cop that rumors are he would take a bribe in a heartbeat. But they pegged me as a jock. You know, they got scouts, I guess, when you're little. And zero encouragement, except, you know, my father kept me reading. He made me read Michener and other crazy stuff. But nothing to do with math. I did my freshman year of high school and got put in what was with a group of people that were the dummies. There were 4 of us. And we were all given, you know, different work to do. And I was given these self-teaching books from the 1930s. And I would just, you know, do on my own, and he would give me a seat. And I ended up passing. There was only one time I had a hint, and it was the famous puzzle that Mr. Crane would like to give a puzzle and not tell the answer, but he'd know it. And I would be listening because I was a self-worker, you know. It was really nice because no homework, but I could just work by myself all hour. But I would stop when the rest of the class did these and listen. There's a thief that could only use a balance scale twice, and there are 9 pearls. And every time he could find the right perfect pearl, because 8 pearls were fake and only 1 was slightly heavier. So we had to use the balance scale. So I listened to him fish around, and then I raised my hand, you know, because I knew, and I just let them keep going, and they were going, nope, nope, nope. But it actually is that you can do it with 2 moves. If no matter how you take the 9 pearls, if you know there's only 1 that weighs different, you could just put 3 on one side, 3 on the other side. If they weigh the same, you throw them away. They're fake. We'll say that you just threw away 6. That leaves 3. You put 1 on one side, 1 on the other. If they weigh the same, you throw them away. The other one is the pearl. It will be heavier. You don't need to use the scale one more time. So anyway, I take this book and I'm doing it. Get done with math, change sports, go from basketball to wrestling. Thank you, Lord. I got to be the captain of the team and almost made it to state twice. I never made it to state. But then the war breaks out, and somehow I'm broke enough and ready to travel enough that I join the military and say, well, I'll go help out for a little while because, oh my gosh, they've got 444 hostages in Iran. I kid you not. This is all true and verifiable. And the Army is one thing that is still, to this day, if you have an IQ under 80, you can't go in anymore. They saw what happened in Vietnam. So 80, which is still technically not that good. So I take the test. And when they come back, they basically said, whatever you want to do, you can do it. And I said, well, I want to be a linguist. And they said, well, you have to take a separate test for that. So I took that test and I failed it. and they never told me what my score was, but they said, here's this other math test, take it. So I took the test and they said, you passed. You can go to trigonometry school. And in 9 weeks, if you can do surveyor math to be a surveyor, like Thomas Jefferson, George Washington, those guys, then you could be a surveyor, which is the easiest job in the 82nd Airborne. You don't have to carry the heavy. Those cannon shells weigh a ton, and they're so loud, and you don't have to be around any of that in an artillery, and you don't have to be around the cannons. So I got to be a surveyor, and I only had 1 year of math, but nobody ever told me, young man, you should really focus on this, your test scores. And I go back and look at my test scores, and I'm going like, why didn't they really do what they did for my daughter? They took her out in 3rd grade and started, she never went to a regular math class after that. But some of you are like that, but you need to test yourself. Like the puzzles I showed earlier, did you know that? Did you figure them out on your own? If not, don't be ashamed of it. This is a judgment, a Bible that is not being judged on a curve. It's all individual. You can look at yourself as a seed planted in one of at least 4 types of soil. Now, if you are wheat, if you are not a goat, not a wolf in sheep's clothing, the analogies, you're a weed. If you're a tare, it's wheat. If you're good, some of them get choked out, but some of them just live and they produce. It says some Christians produce 20, 30, 60, or 100-fold. Now, the 190-fold, let's analogize it back to the IQ. We don't beat our chest and go, oh, I'm glad I'm not a 20 yielding wheat. You just proved you're a tare. What we do is we follow what it teaches in the parables every single time. Whether you're a servant working for the master and you're left in charge, if you mess it up, boom, you're done. If in the other parables, if you are rewarded for the talents that you are given, I gave you 5. I made 5 more. Good job. That's the minimum. I gave you 5 talents and you used it. The other people that have talents and decide to lean towards and buy into being one called, not chosen because they weren't faithful. They didn't understand. Ephesians 2:10, we are his workmanship, created in Christ Jesus a long time ago. For what? We're God's workmanship, created in Christ Jesus for good works. And when were they prepared? Like everything else with a book that has the end from the beginning, he had to have prepared beforehand? And that now we should walk in them, even though I wasn't showing the scripture, but you got it. But even though we know he prepared them beforehand, we should walk into them. It's not going to be as bad as Armageddon, but this judgment is going to get a whole lot worse in 2038. And it's not looking like a picnic until this next election in 2028. anyway, that's the way I'm looking at it for now. Guess what? I went and talked to the staff and I called RJ and told him, I'm just going to go and basically just say, you know, it's like you kind of owe me a little bit because I had some mishaps that I've talked about in the past. And like the time before, you know, things have changed now. I look back at it, Luther, and it's been, I'm on my third year living in this same apartment. And it's just hard to believe because when I talk to him now, I'm like, well, I might need to stay a couple more months and I don't want to pay you any more money. It's just like, okay, be safe, because I told them I want to start taking the bus and doing some travel. Be safe, Paco, because it's like they tried as hard as they could. I even put me in jail, made up bills. They tried to bone me hard, and yet I still love them. I'm always happy to see them. I understand the stress they were under. You know, a guy comes to a university and wants to expose the Epstein connection and does it. Yeah, they didn't want any part of that. But now that I'm still here, I did really pretty good in school and called the silver market. There's a bunch of reasons they believe the Paco, because, you know, I showed up here and said, here's what's going to happen, and it all did. So that's the way it is. You're like that too if you're called, chosen, and faithful. I know you have an orphan trained brain. You want to do something about it. First thing you do is accept your parents and grandparents had to be in on it, either as a millstoner or as someone who was compromised. Like my parents, love them, but they were put in front of the globe world. They put me in front of the education system. Here's a TV. Here's a new color TV. It's a brand new world. I was born when there were 48 states. That's how new this all is. You know the guy Rocky that comes in here? He was born when there were 49 states. That's only like a 3-month window. It's a flat earth nation, golden age past, because the mud flood was Armageddon. There was the creation and avoiding whatever happened there, Noah's flood, Armageddon. At the end of the 1,000 years, there was a reaping. Put in your sickles and reap. And then there's what's called a staggering remnant of fugitives that are living through the short season, the last 335 years. Well, there's only 20 years of that left. Amen. Hallelujah. Aho. Aloha. Arrivederci. Ciao. Sayonara. Auf Wiedersehen. Nakame. Adios. Goodbye in Esperanto. From the border of southern Colorado and Mexico, we like to say adios and goodbye that way. I do.